Mark, what are you doing calling me? It's 3:15 in the morning. What do you want? £5,000? No chance. Well, of course they're bad people. It's the Tory party. You joined them. Yeah. It's a matter of life or death. Well, Mark, you're in luck. The bank's open in less than 6 hours. Well, that was interesting. Hello everyone, my name's Matt Johnston and welcome to The Interesting Times, a political comedy show from right here in the UK. And before we get going, see how many mayors are mentioned or featured in this week's show. Answer at the end of the vid. Yes, I'm going to try to make you watch the whole thing. First things first, Conservative MP James Daly, the man right at the heart of the Angela Rayner affair, gave the Greater Manchester Police the lowdown on the all-engulfing scandal that is... wait, what was it again?
Now, you, James Daly, were the one who brought forward a complaint after the police had said there was nothing to see here in terms of her living arrangements. What crime do you think she's committed?
Well, the Greater Manchester Police last week now announced that they were investigating various matters in relation to this.
But what is it you think she's done? If the police had originally said they didn't think there was anything to actually respond to, what is it that you brought to light that has changed that?
The situation is that information was provided to Greater Manchester Police as per any other... and I think that we should allow them to carry out that investigation.
But I still don't understand. What's the offence that you think that's been committed?
My understanding is that the Greater Manchester Police, and they will correct me if I'm wrong, are looking at a number of different offences.
Yes, many number of crimes. Regicide, identity theft, fly tipping, murder, happy slapping, failure to take the piss out the electorate whilst in office. Oh, I know. How about wasting police time? Is that a crime, James? Wasting police time?
You wrote to them to demand that they investigate something. What did you ask them to investigate?
Just shout a bit louder, just so none of us can hear. I've just answered that question, and this is typical of what we go here, shouting very loudly. And you may disagree with this. Chris definitely, in his shouting, definitely disagrees with me.
Yes, the allegations that, well, you may not agree with that. Will you shut up, Chris, with your screaming in my ear? OK, what was the question again?
You wrote to the police. Did you not put concerns of allegations? Didn't you write to them about it? Am I misunderstanding?
Absolutely.
So what did you ask them?
You've gone quiet. Members of Parliament are certainly likely to keep the police in the northwest of England busy, though. As in, I assume, a tit-for-twat move, Labour have called upon the Lancashire Police to look into the case of one Mark Menzies, who was a Conservative MP before having the whip removed for misuse of campaign funds to pay someone who may or may not have been a male escort, but certainly was demanding money with Menis.
I mean, it is genuinely jaw-dropping.
This story is not only massive, but it's really bizarre.
The frankly bonkers, incredible story.
Yes, just when you think you've seen and heard it all, up pops another crazy story. So this is what we know so far. Last December, Mark Menzies meets a man online on a dating site and goes round to their flat, before going round to another man's flat in the early hours. The next thing is that at 3:15 in the morning, a 78-year-old lifelong Conservative activist and Menzies' former campaign manager, Katie Fieldhouse, gets a call from Menzies saying that he had been locked up by very bad people and he needed £5,000 to pay them, and it was a matter of life and death. Now, fair play, Katie actually refused. And if you think about it, £5,000 is a lot for a Conservative MP. Surely you want to start at, say, a tenner and, haggle a bit. At least get to pay in instalments. Anyway, Katie then rings his office manager and Conservative Mayor for Fylde Town Council, Shirley Green, at about 6 in the morning. She cashes in her ISA and hands over £6,500. The increase, I'm guessing, is inflation, because Rishi Sunak hadn't tackled it properly at the time. Well, obviously it'll be cheaper now. She then gets reimbursed from campaign funds. This gets reported to the Chief Whip, Simon Hart, who does nothing at all with it. And 3 months later, The Times runs the story and Mark Menzies himself resigns the whip, meaning the entire story you heard was not enough for him to get the whip removed. And on top of that, he has a bit of previous. In 2014, he was suspended from being Alan Duncan's private secretary, having been accused of paying for a Brazilian male escort and asking him to hit him up for some methadone. Menzies at the time said that only some of those allegations were true, but it's unclear what bits. Maybe the escort was Puerto Rican and the drug was opium, who knows? By the way, the Brazilian escort was in the UK illegally and had been refused entry 3 times, until he met with Mark Menzies, that is. Oh, and in 2017, he was reported to the police for getting a dog drunk. Oh, and he's also previously used £14,000 of campaign funds to pay his medical bills. Oh, and he's previously been thrown out of the last night of the Proms for being drunk and poking people with his flag. How have I not heard of this guy before? All of this, by the way, I think we can agree is shocking and definitely makes the top 3 of shocking scandals by Conservative MPs this week. But surely, even more shocking than that is his ex-campaign manager, Katie Fieldhouse, who calls herself a devout Christian and even more devout Conservative. Well, pick one or the other. And also describes herself as having morals and principles. Really? Because this is her on the evening of Mark Menzies' 2019 election victory. Looking like a devout Christian, let's realise she's made a deal with a horny devil. So, mad cat lady and woman taking the UK to the cliff edge and saying, go ahead and jump. It's not so far down. Just flap your arms and you'll be fine. Liz Truss put the R into America to promote her new book, 10 Years to Save the West.
Stuff, great to see you. Your thoughts.
Great to see you. And here's my new book. I'll just get it up. Sorry, I'll get it up front. There we are.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yes, congratulations on getting the book the right way up on only the 3rd attempt. Now, give us a trade deal, America, otherwise we're sending her back. Liz was also being kept busy in the UK studios, though, sitting down on LBC to talk to Ian Dale, where he wanted to dive just a little into what made Liz Truss tick, 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 boom.
The naughtiest thing you've ever done?
If I was put in charge of a whole country once by a bunch of morons, put a hole in the finances I could drive a tank through before being removed by the same morons 1 month into what was supposed to be a 5-year stint and blamed it on everyone that tried to help me, isn't the naughtiest thing you've ever done, then honestly, that sound will haunt me for months to come. But not just me, as Liz Truss was making it clear she's back, baby, and ready to settle a few scores.
But the left have, in the same way as they sort of say, you know, government was trying to abolish the forests or they're trying to do this, they're trying to smear me.
She's got a long list of people to blame. She blames the Governor of the Bank of England, the Treasury, the Office for Budget Responsibility. The American President is blamed at one point.
What happened, Chris, was that I was undermined by organisations like the Bank of England.
I presume the OBR is pretty high on your hit list as well.
That's definitely.
And ready to lead those bureaucratic lefty legal organisations and go rogue. Get ready for lawless Liz Truss.
But the other thing, we've got to leave the ECHR, abolish the Supreme Court and abolish the Human Rights Act.
Oh, OK. A British Bill of Rights.
I prefer the traditional Bill of Rights. That it's always. I mean, Britons have been free for many, many years. The idea that human rights were only invented in 1997 is a Blair fiction.
One of the...
all that he's invented is rights for people that shouldn't be in our country.
Or not, just law of the land. While Liz Pillock. It's not the first time Liz has had a problem with human rights.
When I was Equality Minister, I wanted to abolish the Equality Act.
Which, let's be honest, is the equivalent of being put in charge of the washing up and spending the first night smashing the crockery. There were a lot of interviews for Liz to get through that day, so a quick liquid lunch and on to Chris Mason's new cast on the BBC. Bloody wokey lefties.
Your time as Prime Minister left the UK as an international laughingstock.
Well, I don't think that's true. And
but you lasted for all the stuff about the lasting less time than a lettuce.
This is just pathetic point scoring. This is the kind of thing that obsesses the kind of what I describe as the London elite.
Yeah, only posh London-based people really care about lettuces and apples.
We import 2/3 of all of our apples.
Pears and...
Of all of our pears.
Pork markets.
Opening up new pork markets.
Sure, but I just put to you that then it could be said that you were part of a deep state, that you were part of the problem to which you now position yourself as a solution.
So, what about the reviews of the book? The Guardian has called it delusional, The Independent describes it as ludicrous, and The Times says it's as readable as a crisp packet. I'm guessing that would be Walker's new cheese and pork variety. But there's no denying that this book is comprehensive. 320 pages covering 49 days. I've worked that out. That's 8 pages a day, or for a working day, that's a little over a page an hour. And yet, all that information, all those words, and not one apology, not a single sorry, not even so much as an oopsie. However, if you didn't want to hand over £17 to plough your way through 320 pages of unfiltered tripe, how about a brief synopsis from those that were there at the time? You know, all of us.
She became Prime Minister. She's
doubling down.
Everyone told her, if you do this and do unfunded tax cuts, you will crash the economy and it won't work. And it's not that people blew her up. She did what she said she was going to do, and everything that everyone said was going to happen happened.
Liz Truss being in America meant she missed out on all the fun to be had in Brussels last week. The Eurovision contest was attempting to get into full swing in Brussels of all places, until it was shut down by the mayor due to fears over safety. I'm guessing his.
And Nigel, just very quickly while we've got you, your message to the Mayor of Brussels.
He must be the most ghastly little person. As I say, I'm not prone to violence, but my goodness me.
This was the meeting of the National Conservatism Conference. Wait a minute.
Start, first of all, with the what is the National Conservatism Conference? We had the NatCons was held in London.
Yes, that was the NatCons. This is the NatCon. And those police have been brought in specifically to deal with this, making them NatCon. And Nigel Farage was amongst those not allowed to speak, making him very unhappy. Or, to put it another way, here we go. Here's the prat looking like a fallen rat that he's at the wrong NatCon. Also, twat. Farage and the far-right fearmongers, including Suella, have a march ban, were still banging out the message that the right is against rights.
I was calling today in my speech that we need to leave the European Convention of Human Rights, and we need to do it now. It's no good putting it in a manifesto for the Conservative Party at the next general election. Invoking or triggering Article 58 of the European Convention on Human Rights, sending a letter...
Which is 6 months, isn't it?
6-month notice to the Council of Europe.
No good waiting until after the election and give the British people a say in their own future. We have to get rid of all rights straight away. It's the only way, to be sure, except the right to have access to a premium bank account, obviously. Has to be said as well that Nigel wasn't feeling the love.
I knew I wouldn't be welcome back in Brussels.
Or indeed in Strasbourg. Or for that matter, England. Scotland.
He's a scumbag. I think he needs to go back to London.
Wales.
But not everybody that crosses that channel is a serious criminal.
No, but don't we have a right?
Yeah, but you started it because it was Brexit. You started Brexit, right? So you started Brexit, and then you frightened everybody to death about people who are coming across the water.
Ireland.
But come on, don't try and lecture the Irish people about the culture and history and precarious nature of peace on this island. You haven't got a clue.
Or indeed in his own house. The scenes outside the venue were certainly a cause for concern, though, as police blocked people from entering but allowed people inside the conference to leave. Concern being that normally when Braverman and Farage are talking, it's the other way around. And that's it. No time to talk about a very special anniversary.
We were going to start the show tonight with a different headline. I thought that finally, 2 full years after the policy was first announced, I'd be sitting here saying that the PM's flagship plan to send migrants who arrive in the UK on small boats to Rwanda had at last cleared its final parliamentary hurdle. But guess what? It hasn't.
Happy really crap, unworkable and ridiculously expensive and inhumane Conservative policy day. Crikey, 2 years. I'll tell you what, Liz Truss looked saner back then too. So what's happened in the intervening years? We paid Rwanda £240 million to house the refugees and asylum seekers, of which we sent exactly 0. So the Rwandan government, getting fed up of waiting, is now selling said accommodation. And the House of Commons are locked in a battle of ping-pong, or with the House of Lords over amendments on the Rwanda bill. The latest instalment of rejections from the House of Lords includes asking the House of Commons to consider maybe allowing those brought into slavery or those that have risked life and limb helping British service personnel in Afghanistan to stay in the UK, because that would be the humane thing to do. To which the House of Commons replied, "It's like you don't really know us at all," and rejected it. Clearly, the Rwanda plan is to give the Tories their front page headline of refugees flying off in a plane. Just one question. Actually, a lot of questions, but just one overriding question.
Do you think there's an airline waiting in the wings to take people to Rwanda? So you do have an airline to take people?
We have been planning for this.
Because that's
for
logistics.
months. We are very close to being able to do this. We are in.
So I understand that no airline is willing to actually contract with government to remove people to Rwanda because of reputational damage. But on the plane point, which I'm asking you specifically about, do you have an airline that's ready to go?
I'm confident we will have the ability to send people to Rwanda.
But you
there
don't
are
have
many
an airline.
steps. Again, you wouldn't expect me to comment on commercial conversations.
Have you got an airline to work with?
We don't comment on operational detail.
Guessing as it's this government, they're hoping to wing it. Don't groan. No time to talk about the country, quite frankly, spending too long crying over some spilt chai latte and needs to really well stick on its big boy pants, give its head a wobble and pull itself up by its bootstraps and go off and do some bloody work. So says the Prime Minister, a man for who a hard day's graft consists of travelling on public transport, Rishi Sunak.
In 2011, 20% of those doing a work capability assessment were deemed unfit to work. But the latest figure now stands at 65%. That's wrong. People are not 3 times sicker than they were a decade ago.
Well, they've gotten sicker of this government, and we all know who that's been since 2011.
That the government is due to trial healthcare professionals issuing fit notes rather than GPs.
OK, so not actual doctors then, but healthcare professionals. Art therapists, music therapists, drama therapists. Are they taking the piss? I mean, are they saying if you can bang a drum with one hand while painting a picture of some childhood trauma with the other, then you're A-OK for a 9 to 5? Because I really don't think that's how mental health works.
But I do think it's right that the welfare system doesn't over-medicalise, the everyday challenges and worries of life.
Does he actually think that that's what those who have mental health issues are suffering from? Just turn that frown upside down and sing a few choruses of bare necessities and all of a sudden you'll be right as rain? I can't even begin to imagine what he thinks the solution is.
Right, there's increasing evidence, and you cite a range of different studies, that actually people being in work see huge improvements in their overall health and especially their mental health.
Just our unelected Prime Minister there telling people that work will set them free. No time to talk about the fact that we are just a couple of weeks away from local elections, mayoral elections, police and crime commissioner elections, and even a by-election. Any more?
And I think either Rishi Sunak will initiate a sort of 1995-style back me or sack me leadership race and say we've got to end this speculation once and for all, or there will be a challenge. I think very likely in 2 weeks' time we will have some kind of leadership contest.
Interesting. Well, if we do have a leadership election, the Tory has a whole... what is the collective term for Tory MPs? A plethora of plebs? A flock of cocks? Or a school of the uneducated? Anyway, a lot to choose from. There's Chief Secretary to the Treasury, and woman surprises anybody that she's still there, Laura Trott, as always grappling with the basics.
Great news for people at home. We saw inflation coming down. Crucially, we saw food prices coming down.
Just to be clear, because I think you misspoke just then. When you said prices were coming down, did you mean prices are going up?
Sorry, the rate of which prices are rising are coming down.
God bless you, Laura. Hairs don't get much emptier, but I tell you what, Kemi Badenoch's prepared to give it a go.
we haven't, certainly we didn't originally raise barriers. We actually didn't raise barriers. The EU did. And that was one of the risks I think that we were aware of, that there might be some retaliation for us leaving.
Not retaliation. We left. The EU has to ensure that it looks after its own market and standards, as they can't regulate what we do.
Brilliantly, I think we're the second
but
largest
you are putting up barriers
in the world. Yes, but other things have come down. So we've removed tariffs, for example. We've removed loads of tariffs.
You put tariffs on imports to stop cheap products from across the world flooding our market and undercutting our domestic market, which is what pissed off the farmers so much. I mean, are you new at this? Then, of course, no discussion of what it is to be a modern-day Tory could be complete without the 49-day car pile-up that was our previous PM.
Not only did the Labour Party not support my private member's bill, Mr Deputy Speaker, they actually talked and filibustered and they talked about ferrets so much that I was not even able to speak.
This was Liz's anti-trans bill, which was covered by various news outlets, although, ironically, not covered in the Scottish news publication, The Ferret. So, how many mayors did you count? Well, there's Mayor of Fyle Town Council, Cheryl Little, the Mayor of Brussels, Amir Kerr, a brief clip of the Conservative Tory True Blue Mayor of West Midlands, Andy Street, making it 3. Oh no, wait, there's also Liz Truss. The nightmare. And finally, good luck to everyone taking part in the London Marathon today, including 20 MPs, who include Matt Hancock and Jeremy Hunt, who will no doubt be trying to raise some money for a charity that's very much on its last legs, or as the rest of us call it, the NHS. Jeremy has the fastest time of any of the current crop of marathon runners, coming in under 3.5 hours. The slowest time ever recorded by a politician, though, actually belongs to Rishi Sunak, who spent the last 14 months running from a general election. Thank you all so much for watching, and if you have enjoyed these videos, then feel free to like, share, subscribe, hit all the notifications button and comment. And I'll see you all soon. Take care.